after this video presentation, but I hope that everything will be fine with my audio. So it would be really great if you can confirm it for me, just to know that everything is fine. Is it okay?
تتكلمون بالعربية؟
Geliyor efendim, geliyor.
Yes, you're audible, well audible, sir. I have been asked by the attendees to confirm that it is audible.
I just wanted to repeat that there was a problem with my audio here after the presentation about ASSAM that you just showed us. Assalamu alaikum once again from Fatih Belediyesi, Istanbul. And this is my 4th year in the row that I am participating as a presenter at ASSAM Congress. And interestingly, I think that each year I addressed you from the different place. Today it is Istanbul. For example, last year it was the Vlasic Mountain in central Bosnia. Probably some of you can remember that. I know that we don't have so much time, so I will go straight into the subject, and I will not lose my and your time. If we accept definition which states that worldview is a coherent set of presuppositions and beliefs that every person has, which shape how we make sense of the world and everything in it, we have to be aware that any other coherent set, any other worldview imposed on person creates serious gaps and unjust challenges on him or her. In the context of society, it creates trauma, drama, and at the end brings instability, uncertainty, and lack of confidence. I would say this is something what Muslims are still going through. In this address of mine, I see worldview as a framework for 2 Burdesian variables: habitus, perception as basic function of our way of being in the world, and doxa, a set of unquestioned beliefs which are taken for granted. In this address of mine, I also see imposition of other coherent sets within Muslim geography and elevated drama and trauma from it, which generations went through. Above mentioned perception is not a deliberate taking up of a position. It is the background from which all acts stand out and is presupposed by them. In fact, it is pre-reflective sensuous contact with the world, the guide of our everyday practical orientations by distinguishing between what is and what is not for us. The concept of habitus should explain the paradox that human behavior can be oriented towards some goals without being aware of it. That is, it serves to explain the coincidence of social and mental structures. Habitus can thus be understood as a type of driving principle that which produces practices. In short, as a product of history, habitus produces practices, individual and collective, thus history in accordance with the patterns brought by history. Social theory deals with habitus practices, socialization, perceptual themes, typification, stock of knowledge, the background already mentioned, as etc., as explanatory tools. All of them are giving sense and clear pictures for understanding of social determinism as a natural consequence of repetition of rituals, existence of solid social structures, and a clear, firm legal framework. The cohabitation of these elements in time and space in a longer time frame is designed by doxa. The cohabitation of it conveys, the natural attitude in which the social world is a self-evident, taken for granted reality, and therefore accepted as unproblematic. Doxa or dogma we are talking about very similar concepts. This introduction is significant for two reasons. From it, first of all, we understand the complexity of the construction of society and its norms. And secondly, we can grasp some of the ways in which the Muslim worldview became almost illegal, even within dominantly Muslim regions. That paradigm shift is what Muslim geography experienced in approximately the last 2 centuries. Nevertheless, if we are describing situation in the Balkans, which is not a part of Muslim geography anymore, or Middle East, the core of it, we witness the Moderna and its apparatuses dismantled socio-political structure of the Muslim world. As Abdurrahman Etaha said, explaining the state of the Muslim world during colonization, and I'm quoting, "New European codes, exogenous legal codes, new European schools, and conceptually foreign European administrative and other institutions came to displace almost every sphere of that Sharia, Sufism, and their related institutions had occupied. The effect of these reforms was not merely to displace the Sharia and the traditional institutions of Islam, nor was it just to secularize them. It was to create a new subject, one who would see the world through the lens of the modern state and the nation, meaning to establish the new worldview. And this is what actually happened. Taha continues explanation and say that a new epistemology had emerged, a new way of not only conceptualizing the world, but also living in it. Here we are talking about switched habitus. The death of ilm education, of the traditional scholarly cycle, and of the madrasa signaled the effective extinction of entire sociology of knowledge, of a hermeneutic that governed the production of the particular kind of knowledge. The destruction of this system was so colossal that one is compelled to describe it as a structural genocide. The annihilation of an entire apparatus of knowledge understood as both a system and a particular way of living in the world. Indeed, Muslim societies and states experienced a series of disappointments, transformations, and the new beginnings during the 20th century. The disintegration and disappearance of universal empires, that is the promotion of the idea of nationalism throughout 19th century, brought enormous problems to the whole world. The social and political processes that took place in the countries, states of Islam, especially during the collapse of the Ottoman state, and the imperialist invasion interfered with the very meaning of the collective identification of Muslims. Stunned primarily by the British and French political ideas, types of governance, etc., and then by American ones, Muslim elites began to attribute their own disorientation to the incompatibility of the idea of Islam with modern times. This led to the growth of Arab nationalism, the strengthening of secularism, and ultimately socialism and liberalism as a path leading to progress. Following the developed world, not only in matters related to the progress of science and technology, but also in the ideological shaping of the own societies, has begun to appear to Muslims as an irreplaceable concept. But 200 years of being an object had made almost the entire Muslim world lost in modern trends. Because of such development, surely negative ones for Muslims, the idea of back to the roots, to the fundamental principles appeared from time to time all over Muslim geography. The idea of made possible appearance of so-called Islamic fundamentalism, which by its various characteristics and phenomena provided possibility to be treated very ambiguously. If one wants to understand the necessity of Islamic Renaissance, the return to the basics of Islamic teaching about man and his role and purpose, and not on the principle of not enough clear insights of the topic, Islamic fundamentalism should be viewed as any other conservative approach. This view and attitude toward Islam, a view of the possibilities of social change, has been generally accepted and interpreted by many scholars over the time, and today it appears as a publicly accepted and scientifically grounded. Now, let's go back to our dilemma that I am presenting today. Muslim worldview as an alternative paradigm or only possible for Muslim geography, for example. As a civilization of ethics, Islamic civilization in its core builds its relationship to the world, to those who are its subjects, as well as to those who represent any otherness, on the premise of fairness, whose values is measured in the hereafter. Fulfillment of personal and societal mission lies in revival of tradition on which civilization was based, and this idea of ethical reversion was framed in cosmological terms. God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, created the world as a hierarchical chain of being, his knowledge by which he designed the world being the most supreme. And this is the core of the concept. Divine knowledge, ilm, thoroughly ethical and just in its constitution, permitted this chain, having assigned to humans the duty and responsibility of bearing this knowledge to the best of their abilities. Human stewardship, according to, for example, Weil Halak, over the material and social world, thus consisted of the duty to discover the range and depth of this knowledge and then to apply it to their earthly environment. But how to discover that depth if the environment is not built on the typology that supports its extraction? And this is also a huge dilemma. How to delimit space and social structures in which relationships based on this primordial calling will grow. Justice and ethics strongly correlate in Muslim worldview. Liberal, for example, progressive one, has its fulfillment within the positive outcomes of corporations. It differs utterly. Doxa and habitus meet at the place where the worldview unites both as our learned and subconscious conditioning. Perhaps this kind of determinism can be understood as training, but it is only a superficial understanding of things. Reflexivity as one of the phenomena of the living worldview is viewed through its expediency. The civilization of ethics, this kind of worldview, gives a reflex to help others, to do good deeds, and to defend those who are attacked. This means that reflexivity fulfills in the fundamental ideas of justice and fairness. As an argument for this, I would cite a well-known hadith about the man.
Admir Bey, süremiz bitti sayılır. Son kelimeleri alabilirsiniz.
Our time is almost up, sir. So can we have the last verse, please?
Do you want me to conclude?
Çeviri gerçekleşiyor mu acaba?
I cannot hear you. Unfortunately, there is some kind of the problem. But if you want me to conclude,
do you hear me, sir?
Our individual and collective fulfillment is possible only within the Muslim worldview, and we are obliged as intellectuals to reflect on this and contribute to the growth of these views within Muslim societies. In the new emerging multipolar world, I believe in it, the pole that will give the meaning of existence to the entire humanity is the one that has the opportunity to establish itself within Muslim geography. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Aleykümselam ve rahmetullah. Admir hocamıza, Bosna Hersek'ten Admir hocamıza teşekkür ediyoruz. Şimdi de ikinci konuşmayı yapmak üzere.
We thank Mr. Admir Mulaosmanović. Now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Abdullah Al-Hajjar Lebramlaban'ın. Is he here?